day, Thomas Crooks came within a quarter-inch of destroying this country. And yet, a year and a half later, we still know almost nothing about him or why he did it. That's because, for some reason, the FBI, even the current FBI, doesn't want us to know.
Maybe the assassination was like not something that we don't know the full story. So maybe it was staged. Maybe it was faked. Maybe it was some kind of message to him, although I don't understand that.
Now, it's been months since Tucker Carlson did a deep dive into President Donald Trump's would-be assassin, Thomas Crooks, and the FBI's lack of interest in, investigating it, including the motive. Now, more conservatives are beginning to question what exactly happened in Butler, Pennsylvania during the 2024 presidential election. Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the more vocal individuals who's starting to ask questions. We'll get to her in a second, but first, Cenk, your 2 cents.
First of all, there is no such thing as conspiracy theories. That's my new conclusion.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so what that is a term used by the media to make sure you don't challenge the government and their official story. Because the media is not in the business of news, they're in the business of propaganda for the powerful. So just drop the conspiracy nonsense. It's a theory, okay? And is this particular theory an interesting one? Absolutely. And so I'm a person who thought it was perfectly real, and I thought it was heroic what Trump did. I'm now definitely rethinking that based on some of the evidence we're gonna show you.
Well, okay, first let me just say, there is no smoking gun, so don't wait for that. I don't have a theory, okay? My take on this is very strange, okay? And I don't trust our government because our government has already lied about the suspect behind it, right? So Thomas Crooks was shot and killed at the scene, so there isn't gonna be a trial or anything. But there was a big lie that was uncovered by Tucker Carlson in the special that he did on this incident, on this case. So we'll get to that in just a minute, but first, while we still have trouble getting Trump to shut up about the 2020 election, which he lost to Joe Biden, it is very strange that we never hear Trump ever mention Butler, Pennsylvania, ever. Or by the way, the second would-be assassin who was arrested near Mar-a-Lago. How come he never talks about any of this stuff? How come he doesn't demand investigation? He wants investigations as a freaking James Comey, but he doesn't want to know more about motives behind his would-be assassins?
No, look, guys. So it's really hard for us from the outside to determine what actually happened. But is it perfectly legitimate to ask questions? Of course, if you're in media, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to ask questions of the government, challenge the government to find out what really happened. You're not supposed to blindly accept things they say, especially when they don't make any sense.
Trump even told the BBC last year that he doesn't like dwelling on it. You dwell on everything. He dwells on crap from multiple decades ago.
Are you kidding me? I mean, the 2020, he thinks he lost an election, he can't let it go. Imagine if he was actually shot at. And that's why I remember when he was giving the speech at the RNC and he said, this is the only time I'll ever talk about it. I remember saying, that's not true at all. He's never gonna be able to stop talking about this. But I was wrong. He doesn't talk about it anymore. Okay, so if you don't think that's strange, no, now you're being weird. That's definitely strange. So that's point one.
So over the weekend, one of Trump's strongest supporters, who apparently no longer is a strong supporter, her name is Trisha Hope. She was actually a January 6th activist and a national delegate for Trump. She posted a lengthy post on X explaining her thought process on this whole situation because she finds it very strange. I'm gonna read exactly what she wrote verbatim. I was a longtime Trump supporter. I became a national delegate to make certain Trump was seated as the nominee. On the night Trump spoke at the RNC, he had the ear patch on. Remember, he had a giant female hygiene product attached to his ear. As Trump began to speak, he started with this. So many people have asked me what happened. Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. So in regard to his statement there, Trisha Hope says, My first thought was how odd for him to begin this way. In my opinion, Trump made that statement to stop any further conversation about what happened. He gave us his official story, would only do it once, and that was the end of it. Now we all know no one loves Trump more than Trump, so this to me felt completely out of character.
Yeah, no question.
Okay.
So there's more videos. Keep going.
Following the inauguration, I found it odd that Trump wasn't going aggressively after those who allowed this to happen. He seemed to behave like it was no big deal. His Secret Service detail failed him miserably. Failed him massively, allowed him to be shot, and they allowed that perfectly timed photo op to take place. Since the attempt on his life, Trump has shown no interest in investigating what really happened. He never mentions it. It's as if it never happened, except when he tells us he took a bullet for us. So she gets a little, she starts like sharing her own theories. She thinks the man who actually got killed that day, Corey Compatore, was basically used as part of the plot. Someone had to die. Otherwise it would have been much easier to claim it was a hoax. They killed Corey likely because he was truly a real life hero, one people would rally behind and defend passionately as they should. Then to top it off, they used Corey to their benefit at the convention. To this day, his wife is begging for answers she has repeatedly been denied. Sadly, there have no more use for her. They have no more use for her. So she no longer matters. So that's her theory. Obviously, we don't have any evidence to back any of that up, right? But
there's one thing in there that makes sense.
Okay, go ahead.
So I don't know what happened with the gentleman who was shot and killed, and now we're getting into deeper waters, et cetera. And again, we're not saying we know, okay? So to me, the legitimate question in there is, why was no one punished at the Secret Service for an enormous breach of security? That there was a guy on a roof with a perfect shot at Trump in the crowd, and that's the one building they didn't look at, and that's the one building that had no video cameras.
Yeah.
And not only was the people in charge of security that day not fired, the lead guy there was promoted to the head of the Secret Service.
Insane.
No, that's evidence number 2.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna skip ahead. I wanna go to some of these videos. Let's start with F2 because there are others who have weighed in on this. Now, Tim Dillon, of course, is a comedian, but he does a lot of honest commentary in his comedy. With that in mind, let's take a look.
Maybe the assassination was like not something that we don't know the full story. So maybe it was staged, maybe it was faked, maybe it was some kind of message to him, although I don't understand that because it almost, I don't get it. I don't get how close you would come. The top of the ear. But I think maybe it was staged. And I think now is the time to just come out and say, some people are going to be upset by this, but we staged the assassination attempt in Butler to show people how important it is and how important it was to vote for me.
Okay, so that's what Tim Dillon had to say on his own show earlier this month. And then you have the statements that Joe Kent made when he was on Tucker Carlson's podcast. If you don't remember, let's go to F3.
We still don't know what happened in Butler. We don't know what happened with Charlie Kirk. And by no means am I saying the Israelis did this or any of that, but I'm saying there's a lot of unanswered questions there. And there is enough data to at least say that there's a good chance that President Trump feels like he is under threat. We're not allowed to ask, basically, was there any linkage between what took place with Asif Merchant, who was recruited by the Iranians to come to America to recruit proxies to kill President Trump. The FBI put a confidential human source at him. All this is public now. This is all out there in the open. And he's arrested, and then 2 days later, a sniper takes a shot at President Trump.
And I'm gonna go to one more video, Cenk, just so we do our due diligence here. I want to go to F6 because Tucker's special on this issue needs to be looked at, because we were lied to about how Thomas Crooks had no online trail. He didn't post anywhere, he wasn't active on any social media. Nothing could be further from the truth. So if you watch it, he's gonna show you the receipts, but I wanna give you a little taste, F6.
In late September, we received a tip from a source. He told us he'd gained access to some of Thomas Crooks's accounts. He'd found these accounts by utilizing tools commonly used by private investigators. The key lead was Thomas Crooks's phone number. That was published in documents obtained by America First Legal. That phone number led our source to Thomas Crooks's primary email account, tmcrooks7@gmail.com. That in turn, he linked with more than a dozen other accounts. It turns out that Thomas Crooks was hardly an online ghost. He was active, and yet federal investigators lied and told us there was no trace of him online. Some of Crooks's accounts, like his Snapchat, appear to have been fully deactivated and completely taken out of use. Some of them may have been unused or cleared by federal officials during the investigation. We don't know, because the FBI wouldn't tell us. There is ample evidence to support the authenticity of these posts. Our source figured it out. So did we. But when we reached out directly to the FBI to ask why the Bureau hadn't shared any details from the account with the public, the FBI responded by questioning whether we could verify the authenticity of the account. We were confused by this, considering the authenticity is self-evident. And of course, the FBI would have known that since the day of the shooting.
Super suspicious, Cenk.
So point number 3 is Joe Kent, who was the National Counterterrorism Director, asked for permission to investigate leads they had on foreign connections to the shooting. Now, in that clip that you saw with Tucker Carlson, and I explored that more with Joe Kent in my interview that I did right here on the Young Turks, you could watch that. And what he said was that there was a guy who was arrested for trying to assassinate Trump in some wild plot that was connected to Iran. Now, wait a minute. If you have evidence connecting it to any foreign government, let alone Iran, why wouldn't you let the National Counterterrorism Director and the entire organization investigate that? That is super strange. So that is evidence number 3. Evidence number 4 is what Tucker just mentioned, which is, why is the FBI lying about Thomas Crooks's background?
Yeah.
Well, if he did it and he did it alone, why wouldn't they, crucify him publicly, like, oh, here's what he did, and et cetera, and how awful. But yet they've said nothing about him. Not only that, they've lied about him. That is also enormously strange. Okay, now the last one. Number 5 is the photographers. Someone shepherding the photographers to just the right location. Now, normally when I see something like that, I go, really? Okay, I mean, are you sure? And there's an element of that here with the flag, which I'll tell you about. But we're gonna show you F7, the next video, because to me, this was also, I mean, this is number 5, guys, of incredibly strange things that happened. So let's watch. Okay, so this is the shooting. Now you see that guy on that just crossed your screen on the lower level. He crosses after the shooting. He's not panicking and running away. He was very calm earlier in the video. This is a long video, and he went to go get something. Now oh, look at that. He went to go get photographers. There he is again. You see, crouching down, and he's shepherding the photographers. And now you're about to see a second person that'll also come in to shepherd the photographers for just the right shot. So as soon as what happened was like the shooting happened, he was just the calmest man. And there he is, look. And here comes another woman now. Bring the photographers here, we need the exact picture. And it looks incredibly choreographed. Okay, but how did they know to choreograph it? In the middle of a shooting.
I'd be out of there,
Is your first reaction, oh, let me go get the photographers and let me bring them to just the right location where they're gonna be able to take a shot of the flag as well, and Trump holding up his fist. And I'm not at all worried about my life. And remember, guys, come here. No, not there, right here, just like we planned it. What is that? Now, some people have a theory about how the flag was lowered. I don't know if the flag was lowered, okay? I don't know, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but that's not the point. The point is, those guys that shepherded the photographers to just the right location seemed like they had They had a plan, right? So you can say, hey, I dismiss this one or I dismiss that. You dismiss all 5 of those incredibly strange pieces of evidence, and you've been brainwashed to believe the government always tells the truth, and you should just shut down your brain the minute government says an official position. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, and all of this is strange. Let's also acknowledge how insane it would be to stage a shooting like that, assuming that, oh, you're just gonna graze the candidate's ear and nothing more. I mean,
so
we don't know. We don't know. I
have no idea what happened.
And our FBI director might be an alcoholic.
Okay. So
might be.
Look,
yeah.
From day one, I said, you crazy? This Trump's gonna let somebody take a shot at him and barely miss? There's no chance that happened, right? So that is very, very unlikely. So how do you explain it? I don't know. By the way, if you guys don't know, in wrestling, what people do is, in the old days, they'd always be bleeding from the head, and you're like, Jesus, did they really get hit? They would roll under the mat, okay? Like they'd get hit with a chair, they'd roll under the ring, and they would cut their forehead with a razor, believe it or not. Dusty Rhodes used to do this all the time. And because you're sweating, even though it's a tiny cut, it would bleed all over their faces, right? Trump goes under the podium, comes out with the bloody ear. Okay, so I don't know, I genuinely don't know. What I do know is the official story has a lot of problems. So what in the world is the government doing? Especially because it's not like they took a shot at Biden. They theoretically took a shot at Trump. Yeah. You would think that they would be highly, highly, highly motivated to find out exactly what happened. Super last thing is, sorry to anyone I ever called a conspiracy theorist. Whether you're on the right and you had pizza, turns out pizza did mean kids. Okay, World Trade Center 7, the owner of the building said they imploded it on tape. On the left now, for those of you who had the conspiracy theory about Butler and this Trump shooting, sorry, apparently you were right to question. And random ones, aliens. Oh, conspiracy theorists. Now Obama, Trump, random congressmen all saying, yeah, of course there's aliens. So none of them were conspiracy theories, they were just theories. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.